Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Camarilla Cafe, episode number 25. I am your host, Lou LaRocco, and we are joined by the one and only Chris Bonica and Shane Farmer. How you doing, Chris and Shane?
Doing good.
Great.
How are you, Chris? We gave our thoughts and prayers to you on air the last couple of weeks.
That's right.
Very
sincere.
I had a lot of fun with Mickey, especially, getting my butthole sucked by Mickey Mouse.
Whoa. Okay.
Great time.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, we heard there was some type of accident with a tube and some checkup.
No. Listen, that was not an accident. That was premeditated.
Wow.
Lou is all ears on that one.
So when they talk about gerbils and mice, you're talking about Mickey.
Oh, absolutely. To get Richard Gere, he's
I mean, in light of a lot of recent news, Disney would be the place to go for that, huh? But you're a little old. I mean, they generally do inspections on some people a little younger.
Well, at my age, you still have to get checked out. So that's the place.
Okay. So they made an exception for you.
Right. Well, there's just a line of us, at the door waiting to get,
I thought for Disney, 18 was the cutoff.
No. Every year, you just you give the gang sign, which is really just a little woohoo, and then you're in.
Does that mean you got monorailed?
Oof. Wow, and Debbie says one and only. There are two of them. Yeah. Well, I corrected that, Debbie. I said and Shane Farmer, but Chris hasn't been here for a while. He's been a mainstay. He's one of the founders of the show, and everybody was really concerned, especially tube accident. You got to be careful around that area. So, and it's good to see him. He's in good health. I don't know if he's still healing, but he seems to be happy about it. What do you think, Shane? He looks uppity and happy and.
I think he has a little tiramisu in his beard. So,
wow. We already announced as well. We're gonna have a Disney episode coming up, so I think it might be dedicated to you, Chris. It'd be great for you to be here when we do it.
Look, just for you, Lou. I'm drinking out of a Disney cup right now. Look, it's blurring it.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, it did. It blurred the hell. It censored it. See, even what are we using right there? Zoom, or you're using NVIDIA Broadcast?
No, Zoom. This piece of shit program. It's great.
It knew to blank that out. I'm proud of Zoom. I'm very proud of it.
Censorship. Disney
or did it buzz it? I think it was Buzz Lightyear, wasn't it?
It was Lightyear. It's very good.
I just want to let everybody know I have zero reservations about this because look, I fucking can't stand Disney. I never could. I've always hated Disney. I could never stand it. I could say proudly that I've brought my children there. I've been there with my children at least once. That's enough.
Okay. How much complaining did you do while you were there?
Oh man. Well, I mean, look, it's in direct objective to what I can actually stand. Every element of it. Having other kids like jump all over me. Parents don't give a fuck. It's like that place is a nightmare. It's a claustrophobic nightmare. And
he can come up with 33 1/3 reasons why not to go.
And I don't understand what people's fascination is with that. Like, I don't share that fascination with anything the way people share their fascination with Disney. Right? Like me with Chris Cornell and a lot of different musical artists. Like, I greatly appreciate their abilities, their songwriting abilities, but even when Cornell started making political statements, do you remember years ago, Chris? I was like, I don't give a shit about his political statement. I'm here for his music. Like, I don't deify anybody or anything generally. So, like, if they made like a resort down the block that was all old rock stars and had fucking Cornell's dirty underwear or whatever fucking people would pray to, right? And they served drinks for double the price, I would never go there just because his dirty underwear is there to drink double the price. Like, I wouldn't even go there once, I don't think.
I would just go for the dirty underwear. Fuck the drink.
See? So I don't get how people can fly and spend all their money to see some pedo in a mouse suit all night. It just, I don't know. It's always boggled me. What about that place? Like you're gonna go there. You're gonna get some food to eat. You're gonna get a couple of drinks. You're gonna go on a couple of rides. You could do that at Great Adventure, and those are real rides. What is it about?
It's different. It's not about like literally when they say like Great Adventure is just like a thrill ride park, right? And that's fun, yeah. But this is a theme park, and that's it. It's themed. That's part of the fun of it.
So okay. So would you come here if I paid like a couple of crackheads I know to wear some like one's in a mouse suit, and it might not look exactly like Mickey, but we can make something work. Then another guy in a dog suit. Would you come here for the whole weekend, and I'll charge you like quadruple for the drinks?
So are you going to theme your house? Like you're going to dress it up?
I mean, but what about it is so special? I mean, I don't want to deep dive you now.
Like anybody could get into costumes, but it has to be themed. Like if you theme that shit, if like the walkway to your house is like a yellow brick road and shit, I might,
fiber optics embedded in the concrete.
The steps, yeah. What if the steps look like stones, like make little boulders out of them?
If you
the outside of your house was Cinderella's castle,
yeah,
listen,
or even the
Shane's kind of onto something.
Listen, if you tell me how much you'll spend on a flight and a ticket here for the weekend, I will immediately price it out. I'll go to Home Depot. I'll look for like fish tank rocks, and I'll grab out yellow chalk, and I'll literally make you a yellow road up to the door. How much?
All right, I don't know.
And he already has the princess costume in his closet. I saw when I was over at Lou's house.
There you
he
go.
Keeps it big
there
with
you
the guitars.
Go. And
I'll be that part.
I'll be the princess. I'll take pictures with you.
All right. So I don't know, $1,000. How's that sound?
Woo! Hell yeah. Maybe I'll find a couple people throwing out fish tanks. I don't even have to go to Home Depot. I'll put the cobblestone all over the ground.
Do like a Little Mermaid theme.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to really deep dive on it tonight, but I'll just say I don't know. I'm almost speechless, and that's rare. We're going to have an episode on this, and it's coming. And I think a lot of people are going to look forward to it. Very similar to another topic we're going to cover at some point.
At some point.
Chris, you can dress as your favorite character.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I don't know. You have to figure that one out.
Yeah, you got to tell us.
Tell me what my favorite character was.
If you can walk around as a grown male in a costume of your favorite Disney character, which one would it be, Chris?
Wow, that's tough. That's tough. Do I have to pick? Can I just like have one like for like, the different times of the day?
Okay, so which one would you pick for what time of the day?
I don't know. I got to think about this. I'll write you a list. How's that? I'll have a list ready for the next episode.
Hell yeah. What's that one called? Pigment? Well,
Figment.
Figment. Yeah. Would you be Figment?
If you want me to be.
I don't want you to be anything.
I don't know, because, it's your imagination. That's the whole thing.
That's gross. It's not an imagination if it's standing there. If there's a pedo in a mouse suit in front of you, what's so imaginative about that? It's a pedo in a mouse suit. Like, you can't say, "Oh, look, it's a dolphin." you'd be a retard.
That pillow and use your imagination.
Oh man. And I just got a message from Kay. She says, tell Chris he can't because he's over 14. Oh, man. So, all right. So, and I just want to let all the viewers know we've been out for a couple of weeks. We're happy to be back. We've got a lot of things going on that we got to sort out. We are humans outside of the show. So it looks like some of it's getting all sorted out. Some stuff not so, but. And we're going to deep dive today a little further into something we've spoken about a few different times. We've brought up World War II. We've brought up the history of humans on the planet, at least as far as we can draw back in official history. And now we really want to give a focus to World War II. There were a lot of very strange things, anomalies, and stuff that was kind of explained off in rather shady ways. And a lot of things that the CIA is actually releasing documentation on that we actually know is common knowledge, right? I mean, what's the say? What's the expression? The famous expression? It's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Is that
Something
like
like
the
that.
famous saying? Like to tell people just go do it. It's easier to apologize for it after the fact,
I guess so. Why not?
which is pretty miserable because it could lead to things like
Most
this.
of my life that way.
What was that?
I said I think I've lived most of my life that way.
Oh man. Yeah, I guess. So we're gonna start off with. So this is Wikipedia, which some people still take as literal truth. I don't know how many people have checked out Steven Crowder. He actually tested out Wikipedia and putting in entries that actually had valid, like some truth and validity to it, and they declined it and they changed different things and they blocked them off of Wikipedia. Wikipedia is just as bad as the mainstream news. I don't believe in the mainstream narrative. I don't think any of us on this show at this point do. And Wikipedia is no different. Wikipedia is controlled. But they do allow you to see certain things, especially when the CIA declassifies it. Again, this is... So this says the end of World War II was between 1945 and 1959. So we're looking at about 60 years difference here. This is almost as much as the medical companies wanted to hold on to the proof of the pokes, right? They were asking in court for 70 years without having to disclose their information. That's a long time. That would almost mean that anyone who did agree to get it, the poke, would be dead by the time they would admit to everybody there was something wrong with it. What a strange number. 70 years without disclosure.
It's not the first time they've done that. So
I wouldn't be the first, but every single time they've done it, you found out there was something fucked up about it.
Right.
You would think that somebody would say, all right, if I don't have informed consent, then what type of consent is it? It's not consent, right? And I guess that would be the point of mandating it, is that you don't have to get consent and you don't have to inform people. You know, like any drug.
You can't sue them if something happens to you.
Correct. I mean, the whole ball is in their court. And, I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling people not to get it. But all signs would lead to this is a bad thing. Like, at least to me. Like, if there weren't that many things wrong with it, they wouldn't be looking for 70 years to withhold it. Like, that's a little crazy. That's an entire lifespan of a human. So...
What's funny is the narrative's coming back too, especially with the CMT award show coming up, and the host supposedly now has the id again.
Oh, really? I watched them setting
it.
up the stage in the middle of the avenue all fucking week.
Yeah, they're going to do the hosting part broadcast from their home for protecting the others.
That's insanity.
Is that because they don't want to get slapped in the face?
Maybe.
So
I mean, hey, if the will is there to do it.
Oh.
And I am not you. Says 75 years. He's joining us on Twitch. How you doing tonight? We did want to revisit that at some point. I will give people a heads up. I guess it was maybe an awareness ceremony because accidentally the P company and the M company had released treatments for alopecia, 3 different options, the next day.
Right. And then they were saying, that altercation that happened on television had nothing to do with that.
Correct. Yeah.
So already the theory already went out and probably nailed it right on the head. And so the cleanup crew was already in there, cleaning up their mess.
But what a coincidence, right? And Rhett Wallace is joining us as well. He says Shanghai robot dogs for the vid. I'm not really sure what that means, but if you can clarify that,
I saw a video clip on that earlier. They are using robotic dogs to go to the streets in China to basically broadcast to people what their house number is, to be called out into the street, to be taken to a concentration camp.
Really?
And then they lock them in a cage to be surveillanced and walk around with guards until they get through their core with the team.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll take a look into that in a couple of minutes. I hadn't heard that yet, so that's pretty wild.
If I can find it, or if Rhett can send you the link to that.
Yeah, we can open it up. But to lead into uninformed consent or something that could trial the Nuremberg trials, right? If anyone was wondering whether there was a reason for that, well, we're going to cover that in as much detail as we can in the amount of time that we can tonight. So for anyone who is not aware of this, this is real news. And we all know who did the Nuremberg, who was responsible for the Nuremberg trials, right? In World War II. So Operation Paperclip was a secret United States intelligence program in which more than 1,600 Nazi German scientists, engineers, and technicians were taken from former Nazi Germany to the U.S. for government employment after the end of World War II in Europe between 1945 and 1959. Conducted by the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, it was largely carried out by special agents of the U.S. Army's Counterintelligence Corps. Many of these personnel were former members, and some were former leaders of the Nazi Party. So, if anyone was wondering what happened to a lot of them, I know that publicly they sent a bunch of them to Israel to get hung for war crimes, for genocide. There were quite a few of them that were not sent to Israel. And it says right here, the primary purpose for Operation Paperclip was the U.S. military advantage in the Soviet-American Cold War and the space race. In a comparable operation, the Soviet Union relocated more than 2,200 German specialists, a total of more than 6,000 people, including family members, with Operation Ozaviakum during one night on October 22nd, 1946. So I guess that was the operation that they did. So we took in more than 1,600, and Russia took in 2,200, and with family included, 6,000 Nazi families. Now, I don't know if they did exactly what we did with the scientists, but Russia did it too. So a lot of these people that empowered Adolf Hitler and gave him the technology and gave him the knowledge and everything to help him through obviously survived. And some of them prospered, as we're going to see as we go forward. So it says in February 1945, Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force set up T-Force, or Special Section Subdivision, which grew up to 2,000 personnel by June. T-Force examined 5,000 German targets with a high priority on synthetic rubber and oil catalysts, new designs in armored equipment, V-2 rocket weapons, jet and rocket propelled aircraft, naval equipment, field radios, secret writing chemicals, aero medicine research. Let me repeat that. Aero medicine research has nothing to do with chemtrails. Stop being a conspiracy theorist. Gliders and scientific and industrial personalities. Think about this in the context of World War II. Scientific and industrial personalities. Aero medicine research. I mean, this is quite a few things.
Chemtrails, but it could also be, gases.
It could be a number of things. But I mean, I say chemtrails because they've brought that up how many times over the past 20 years? And everybody who said something about it was nuts. And they actually, I forgot maybe I can find the program at one point. They actually, a pilot turned around and admitted that there was lithium on the plane. And it was being dispersed as he was flying. So they were putting lithium into the air. Now, that has nothing to do with the fluoride in the water. I don't know if everyone sees where I'm going here, but yes, we took a lot of people over here. And I don't know why we would want to know about that. So, if what Hitler did brought up the Nuremberg trials and he committed a genocide and he was drugging his people, why did we take these personalities? Why did we take this research on things that obviously, I don't know why aero medicine would be relevant at any point. If you live in a free country, then you're supposed to have a choice as to whether you take a treatment or not. Aero medicine should not even be practiced. Because that is zero consent at all. They're literally drugging the air. The same way they put fluoride in the water. But I digress. You know, I wonder, like, for hundreds of thousands of human years, did our bones just splint from drinking spring water?
You know what's funny? When I mention that to people, I'm like, we fluoridated water after Nazi Germany. And they're like, yeah, but it's really good for your teeth. I'm like, yeah, but why following Nazi Germany? Who cares? Our teeth are so good. I'm like, okay.
Who cares? Our teeth are so good?
Or that I've
Relative to what teeth?
tried to, well, look at the British. Their teeth are fucking horrible.
Sure, but a lot of people that you meet these days that have like really, they work for really big companies and have good medical insurance, that half their teeth aren't even real.
Yep.
Like, look at how white my teeth are. They're not real. And then their fucking whole top falls out. It's like, this was a lie the whole fucking time. You didn't have nice teeth.
Leaches your bone density.
Well, generally, the United States has better teeth than most other countries, but that doesn't mean it has to do with the fluoride in the water. We could have better
Dental.
dent. Right. There's a lot of other factors.
I mean, I don't know.
Get fluoride on your teeth every time you brush your teeth, not just from the water, but it's in toothpaste.
Yeah.
I get fluoride-free toothpaste, and I actually have a fluoride allergy, and I would go to the dentist for tooth cleaning or whatnot, and they would get literally upset that I couldn't have fluoride.
Yeah, I use Tom's of Maine. They're fluoride free as well. I use the peppermint. I've been using that for years now. Fluoride free. I think over 10 years. Easy. When did I start that, Chris? I started that all the way in Brooklyn. I think me and my brother started that.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I've never gone back. And my teeth aren't falling out of my fucking face. I don't know what. Like, a lot of this shit, I'm just learning year by year. Everything they tell you is good for you. What people should do is they should test certain things out. And if they don't feel well consuming it or using it, stop using it. Stop looking at all of these recommendations. If you're alive and living decently, and you have a particular diet, don't pay attention to any of these, of the fucking Heart Association, none of them. It's all a lie.
Thing is that people are just sheep, and I know people have already gotten and signed up for, well, either they've gotten it or they've signed up for the fourth shot already.
Oh.
And it's like, they haven't even been tested to see if they still have antibodies. Like, get tested first to see if you have an antibody. And if you're really worried about it, all right, then go get the fourth one. But like, I don't know.
The fourth Pokerino.
Pokerino, right?
Yeah, about the American Heart Association, I think it's like 75,000 for, or maybe it's 750,000. I forget the number, but it's quite a large amount of money, and basically companies will pay that just to be able to put it on their cereal box. It's approved by the American Heart Association.
So I'm going to bring this up very quick.
It's like JD Power and Associates. Like, that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
You literally just pay for that award.
Shane had found this on the internet. We'll take a quick look. This is with
Rhett actually sent it to me. I'll give him the credit.
This is with the Shanghai. You said Rhett sent it to you?
Yeah.
Thank you, Rhett. And I Am Not You also says there's zero concrete evidence that fluoride protects your teeth. Yes, and there is. If you search for it, there really is no. It's the same thing as the American Heart Association when they tell you that eating fat will raise your cholesterol. There in fact are studies that suggest the opposite. So we're not talking about fat from cake. We're talking about fat from meat, like real actual fat you store in your body. The studies have shown the exact opposite. So why they're recommending that? Maybe we should dive into Project Paperclip a little more. But let's take this quick look over here. So a robot dog issuing COVID safety instructions is roaming the streets of locked down Shanghai.
体温，请消毒，少聚众，请通风，科学防疫，文明随行。戴口罩，勤洗手，测体温。
that's cool.
Was that made in China? That'd probably be broke.
I don't know why China would outsource anything, or where they'd even outsource it from. I mean,
Wow.
they seem to have a lock on all that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the one here? Boston Dynamic. Don't they make them? Is that the big one?
Yes, but I think
Yeah.
they're going more towards military. Like everything that Boston Dynamics seems to have is like makes that dog look like a joke.
Well,
They-
you know, like the NYPD, they have the dogs. They have those dogs and they send them in.
Yeah, but it's not that size. Those dogs actually run like dogs.
No, the dogs they have are much bigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the
They're like
last I saw, the fucker looked like the thing in RoboCop, and it was jumping on boxes.
Yes.
And this
that's
was
the
from
dog.
years ago. Which says, what the hell can it do now? I know there was a video out recently where it was actually doing a firing test, and this thing was like blasting everything dead on from a distance, like literally running and jumping all over the place.
How many years are we away from Terminator?
That's what I was thinking too.
Right?
We're probably there already. We just don't realize it.
I guess.
Give me
I'm just sending you 3 more links that he had sent me. So sorry if your volume went through in the bell on
Yeah,
Messenger.
I'm going to have to play a video really quickly just so that I can mute this tab because there's no other way for me to stop that. So sorry, guys, but now it's muted. So we should be good. We shouldn't be getting the all those bling bling. That would drive me insane if I was watching a show and that happened constantly. Yeah, so you just sent a whole bunch more on the China thing.
Yeah, he said delayed send. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, that's awesome, man. Thank you for sending some stuff in. Yeah, we're definitely in a crazy time right now. So the Cyberdog robot is being used for announcements during Shanghai's lockdown. They are on another full-blown lockdown, and everybody's being compliant. So is it just telling people what they're supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
So with Shanghai completely locked down, there's no better time to make use of Xiaomi's Cyberdog than now. Whether it be disinfecting things, delivering things, or making announcements, this robot dog is up for the job. Unlike Boston Dynamics Spot, Cyberdog is powered by NVIDIA's Jetson Xavier NX platform. So when you buy NVIDIA stuff, think about where the money's going. Complete with 11 built-in sensors, includes cameras, touch, as well as GPS navigation. Read more for the video and additional information. So NVIDIA is powering something that is basically locking you down. It's very nice to know. How is it able to accurately patrol and navigate the streets of Shanghai? It utilizes Xiaomi's smartphone imaging technology, of course. This basically means that Cyberdog has the enhanced capability to perceive its surroundings with its embedded array of camera sensors, including AI interactive cameras, binocular ultra-wide angle, fisheye cameras, and an Intel RealSense D4450 depth module, the latter of which can be trained with its computer vision algorithm. Yeah, I mean, if these things are being deployed and they're working, the stuff that they already have, I don't know. To be honest with you, I wouldn't want to see it. Because I think if we were to see it, that would be a really bad thing. You know, well, one thing I've thought about as well is that they've been on this whole gigantic defunding of the police. Why could that be? Because a human can think about the decision they're about to make. And a human can backtrack.
Right.
A robot does not.
Get programmed to do something.
Exactly. And it's going to follow through.
And well, I mean, look at all the drone strikes we've done in the Middle East. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they've killed thousands upon thousands of people using drone strikes.
So I Am Not You says, you can't trust any of those videos. China has numerous ghost cities that are completely vacant. You have no idea at all where that video was shot and if it's authentic. I mean,
There is truth to that. They do have a lot of ghost cities, but you know.
I saw some other footage though that kind of goes with that and this was earlier today. I was trying to look it up. I was going to send it to you, but I can't find it. But literally, it was in China and a whole quarantine city. I was trying to delay it just in case. Was put together with all these different building structures and literally guards dressed in what you would think were like, we'll just say white spacesuits for contagion, possibly.
hazmat suits.
Yeah. And then all these cages and these people in those cages, and they were going around watching those people to make sure that they wouldn't try to escape.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice. So let's continue a little bit here, because this might explain some stuff that's going on right now, or when, why, how. So we went through why. So they were looking for the naval equipment, the field radios, the aero medicine research, rocket weapons. I mean, everything here. When large numbers of German scientists began to be discovered in late April, Special Sections Subdivision set up the Enemy Personnel Exploitation Section to manage and interrogate them. Enemy Personnel Exploitation Section established a detention center, dust bin, first in Paris and later in Kranzberg Castle outside of Frankfurt. The U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff established the first secret recruitment program called Operation Overcast on July 20th, 1945, initially to assist in shortening the Japanese War and to aid our post-war military research. The term overcast was the name first given by the German scientists' first family members for the housing camp where they were held in Bavaria. In late summer 1945, the JCS established the JIOA, a subcommittee of the Joint Intelligence Community, to directly oversee Operation Overcast and later Operation Paperclip. The JIOA representatives included the Army's Director of Intelligence, the Chief of Naval Intelligence, the Assistant Chief of Air Staff II, and a representative from the State Department. In November 1945, Operation Overcast was renamed Operation Paperclip by the Ordnance Corps officers, who would attach a paperclip to the folders of those rocket experts whom they wished to employ in America. So now the key word right there is employ.
It also signified to not look too far into their background.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want it.
So the paperclip was like, this is the person we want to employ, not waterboard and find out all of their information. Employ. In a secretive directive circulated on September 3rd, 1946, President Truman officially approved Operation Paperclip and expanded it to include 1,000 German scientists under temporary limited military custody.
Now, I had read that Truman had to sign an executive order pushing it through because the state and justice departments did not want to go through with Project Paperclip.
I don't know why anybody would. I mean, look, I get why somebody would. Because Russia took 2,000 people too, according to this article, which maybe that's a lie. Maybe that's some type of disinformation. But it does state that they did take people in. So obviously you want to grab people before other people grab them, and then they get that knowledge, and then they start working off of it. But again, employing and militarily enslaving are two different things. And now we're not talking about an over excessive, putting people into slavery here, because these people are being put to death for genocide, right? Mm-hmm. We're not talking about normal average people that, you don't like their opinion on Instagram. You scream at them and call them a Nazi, and then we put them to death. Like, you're talking about actual war criminals that supposedly did what they did in our history books. And you want to get rid of them. Like, they should be locked up. So you can definitely obtain information by locking people up. They have techniques by which they can extract information from people. So, and I am not you says, don't think that Israel didn't take any of the scientists either. No, they definitely did. Because look, in this whole war, did any politicians get hurt?
Do politicians ever get hurt in a war?
Exactly.
Do their kids? What do their kids do? They get drafted and they draw up papers. They don't go into the front line.
And how many, we've even seen in recent years, how many of our politicians were draft dodgers? Didn't they make a joke about that with Clinton? Bush, I think, served, but I don't know what capacity and if that was even a lie.
I mean, even the song "Fortunate Son" is about that.
Mm-hmm. So we had this whole gigantic birther issue with Obama and Big Mike. We had that whole ongoing thing. Now, whether or not he had his birth certificate is one thing, but if he was serving in the military, I think there would be less of a question about that, which he didn't, right? All of these people have gotten out of it. Didn't they talk about how Bernie Sanders got out of it too?
Did he?
None of them have actually served for the country. Yeah.
What about Clinton? Did Clinton serve or no?
No, he dodged.
He did dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Almost all of them have not. And hundreds of years ago, they used to talk about the military capacity of them.
Say it again, Lou.
Like they used to talk about, like, if you look in history books, hundreds of years ago, they all actually partook in the military.
Yeah, but again, the upper echelon would be commanding officers, and they'd be in the back. Again, they're not in the front line. I know that what's his name served, Bush Jr., but he was kind of like honorary pilot. It wasn't real.
Yeah, I mean, they're not serving, they're not having their children serve, and they're just pointing the finger. So ultimately, if when things like this happen, their children aren't affected, they don't have any direct emotional connection to what it's doing. It's not doing anything to them. So they would have no reason to want to kind of get back at them for a genocide of another people, right? They don't care. They just want to know how people pulled that off. They want to know what tech they came up with out of that. They want to know how they did it, or how they got that large that quick, right? Because Germany was rising from a plummeting, like an economical death practically, right? From World War I. They were destroyed.
I think that's why Hitler got so popular, is because he kind of brought them back out from that depth.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he talked to the people in a way that he would convince them that he was for whatever it is they wanted. He would go to different towns, and whatever it is that they were looking for or needed in that community, that's what he said he would bring them.
He was like their Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Just a very, very convincing and sway. He had sway over people.
Like their Obama. I don't think Obama had anywhere close to the amount of influence that
You kidding me?
And if you think about it, look at the way they're labeling groups now, and look at the way that they labeled groups then. And of course, first it was to gain their approval, and then later it was to take them to chambers to off them.
Have you heard the new kind of slur that's been going around that apparently they all can't stand or they hate? So you know how they constantly use the term "okay boomer"? Now people are shooting back with "okay groomer," and that's that's not allowed. Apparently, they're saying that's not nice.
Oh, what a shame!
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how they could throw stones, but
yeah, and that there could be some validity behind the statement too.
Yeah.
Something else too, Lou, I don't know if you're aware of this. Here in Tennessee, our local government is trying to push for a new HB 1201, and it's basically a Tennessee General Assembly. They're trying to limit the ability to inform you about issues leading up to an election. So basically, if there's a group, Tennessee Stands, trying to fight for rights and freedoms, and pretty much, I think it's 2 months up to an election, they can ban a nonprofit that speaks out against them, they can ban them from having the ability to have free speech with this particular proposal that they're trying to put through.
Oh, well, hopefully it don't
To
go
muzzle.
through. I mean,
Yeah.
they have to start in a state like this, right? Because
Yeah.
because now that it's already happened in other states and people are compliant enough and not fighting back about it, it's already done over there. Now they have to put their focuses on the areas that it wasn't
And then
done in.
there's one other part of it too. Apparently, they want, and it might be a slightly different bill, but it's all in the same grouping. Because I don't remember that part. I just learned about it today, so I'm still a little rusty on it. But what I caught from it is that they want anybody who made a donation to those nonprofits to have their name exposed for the entire world to see.
They've been saying that was going to happen for a while.
Yeah.
On 4chan, 8chan, ATS, they've been talking about that. It's just, again, it's a slow burn. They're slowly getting to where they have to go.
Mm-hmm.
So here we're going to look at some of the arrivals here. So in May 1941, the U.S. Navy received in custody Herbert A. Wagner, the inventor of the HS-293 missile, for 2 years. He first worked at the Special Division Center at Castle Gould and at Hempstead House, Long Island, New York. In 1947, he moved to the Naval Air Station in Point Mugu, and that's in California. In 1945, Colonel Holger Toftoy, head of the rocket branch of the Research and Development Division of the U.S. Army's Ordnance Corps. These guys got into high positions.
Super high positions.
Offered initial one-year contracts to the rocket scientists. 127 of them accepted. In September 1945, the first group of 7 rocket scientists, aerospace engineers, arrived at Fort Strong, located on Long Island in Boston Harbor. Warner von Braun, Eric W. Neubert, Theodore A. Poppel, William August Schulz, Eberhard Rees, Wilhelm Jungert, and Walter Schwitzky. So we're gonna hit Werner von Braun. I mean, you have to. So, and for anyone who doesn't realize who he was a German-American aerospace engineer and space architect. He was a leading figure in the development of rocket technology in Nazi Germany and a pioneer of rocket and space technology in the United States. And what isn't in that little cutout from Wikipedia is that he was the head of NASA. He was the creator and head of NASA.
The way they write that, German-American, as if he was born here. And he was not a...
No, he was already an adult.
He's not a German American, first of all. He's a German who was taken by America as in a part of Project Paperclip. He was not born here. That's a very fucked up way of putting that.
Yep. You'll find that stuff all over Wikipedia. They try and phrase things, and notice it said nothing about NASA. That guy was the head of NASA. That's pretty fucking, that's the biggest achievement out of all of that.
Now, do you know that, like, when he was still a Nazi, they hung four of the slowest Jews outside of their testing grounds.
Yep, to make them work faster. Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's a good guy.
Just to tie in there real quick about how Wikipedia and other places, even historical places that put out pieces and parts of history, like the Civil War, which I follow because I'm fascinated with it. There was one that was on Robert E. Lee and Grant, and talking about how Lee refused to serve for the North, and basically they left out purposely that the reason that he wouldn't serve in the North was because he wanted to protect his homeland of Virginia. They tried to make him look even worse than what he was when he was just being an honorable man for his own area in Virginia.
He was stationed here in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Up until the Civil War.
Mm-hmm. Because he served for the North first.
Yeah, well, in the naval base, Fort Hamilton Naval Base is where he served, which is walking distance from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they used to have there was a plaque or something to him up until recently. Of course, that they took down.
Yeah.
And it was the Robert E. Lee plaque.
So here's some more stuff here. Beginning in late 1945, 3 rocket scientist groups arrived in the United States for duty at Fort Bliss, Texas, and at White Sands Proving Grounds, New Mexico, as War Department special employees. In 1946, the United States Bureau of Mines employed 7 German synthetic fuel scientists at the Fischer-Tropsch chemical plant in Louisiana, Missouri. So they're spreading all over the place. On June 1st, 1949, the Chief of Ordnance of the United States Army designated Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, as the Ordnance Rocket Center, its facility for rocket research and development. On April 1st, 1950, the Fort Bliss missile development operation, including von Braun and his team of over 130 paperclip members, was transferred to Redstone Arsenal, which is in Huntsville. Adjacent to Huntsville is Madison County, Alabama. So he brought his whole team. His team of over 130 paperclip members. So it wasn't like they just took him and then had Americans watching his ass. No, they had 130 other paperclip members that came along with him. In early 1950, legal U.S. residency for some of the paperclip specialists were effected through the U.S. consulate in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua. Is that Chihuahua? Whatever the fuck that is. Mexico. Thus, German scientists legally entered the United States from Latin America. So the government helped them go to other countries to legally enter from other countries. And we're going to see one coming up right now that we're going to get into. Between 1945 and 1952, the United States Air Force sponsored the largest number of paperclip scientists, importing 260 men, of whom 36 returned to Germany, and one, Walter Schreiber, re-immigrated to Argentina. So Argentina is the location of what some people call Little Germany. Yeah. And a lot of people in Argentina are aware of that.
Yeah.
Just to tie to your previous comment about that, I guess that's why certain groups really want laxed borders.
So they can be used as a funnel.
Yep.
86 aeronautical engineers were transferred to Wright Field, Ohio, where the United States had Luftwaffe aircraft and equipment captured under Operation Lusty. So they were evaluating the German aeronautical technology in an effort to capture it. The United States Army Signal Corps employed 24 specialists, including the physicists George Gauboy, Gunther Getwin, George Haas, Horst Kedesty, and Kurt Lehovec. So let's see what he was doing. He was one of the pioneers of integrated circuit, while also pioneering the photovoltaic effect, light-emitting diodes, and lithium batteries. He innovated the concept of PN junction isolation used in every circuit element with a guard ring, a reverse-biased PN junction. I don't know what half of that says, but I know that a lot of things we have right now are running off lithium-ion batteries.
Yep.
Almost everything is running off of those batteries, and he was a pioneer of it. Now, who is this guy over here? Single wire transmission line is a method of transmitting electrical power or signals used only a single electrical conductor. This is in contrast to the usual use of a pair of wires, provided a complete circuit or an electrical cable likewise containing 2 conductors for that purpose. So all of these guys innovated pretty much everything of what we're doing.
Did they talk about John B. Goodenough? No, he wasn't a...
Who was Hans Ziegler? In the field of communication satellites and the use of photovoltaic solar cells as the power sources of satellites. So this whole gigantic bullshit that they're using to surveil every single thing we're fucking doing came from these guys. And they were kept alive in order to keep doing it.
In order to progress.
So everything that Hitler was going to use to just maintain the law, they came here and they continued to do the same thing. Right. They just changed the face. Man, this
is like an episode of the X-Files, because you can't shit is true.
So, and it says right here, overall, through its operations to 1990, Operation Paperclip imported 1,600 men as part of the intellectual reparations owed to the U.S. and the U.K., valued at $10 billion in patents and industrial processes. So, I mean, This is pretty grotesque. I mean, they were put everywhere. And then we have here major awards in the United States. The NASA Distinguished Service Medal is the highest award which may be bestowed by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. After more than 2 decades of service and leadership in NASA, 4 Operation Paperclip members were awarded the NASA Distinguished Service Medal in 1969. Kurt Debus, Ebhard Rees, Arthur Rudolph, and Werner von Braun. Ernst Geisler was awarded the medal in 1973. So then they awarded themselves. These are all Nazis that used to hang people in front of their places in Germany.
Right. And the doctors, like I know we haven't spoken about the doctors, but they were the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who actually experimented on people.
Yeah, I was, you know what? I'll get into that real quick anyways, because that's a short one, but it completely applies to right now. Let's see. Because there is, from what I understand, I'm trying to find it. I don't have it on me now. If anyone wants to do some research on it and look it up for themselves, from what I understand, the island of Dr. Moreau was based from a German scientist. And quite unfortunately, it was based off of a paperclip scientist that supposedly was given an island and did genetic tests on humans. He continued everything he was doing in Germany on a private island paid for by the U.S. government.
Same thing with, isn't there one Monkey Island or something like that too?
Oh, that's FAUCI. That's one of his islands. Not the same thing exactly. They're testing on monkeys, and I mean, obviously, not many people would be happy to hear that. And even if you're not against animal testing, some of the grisly shit that's coming out that he's doing, like the flies eating away the faces of the dogs. Yeah. I mean, he's a lot of grisly shit has come out, but the island of Dr. Moreau was on humans.
Yeah.
So. And that's alongside a lot of other theories of the U.S. government doing things to humans.
I've even heard in certain medical hospitals, even the ones for psychiatric hospitals, they would have basements that were dedicated test chambers for human subjects.
Yeah, I mean they've been doing this for forever. It's just people don't even realize that it's happening here at home. I mean, look at this. 2 lunar craters are named after paperclip scientists. Debus, after Kurt Debus, the first director of NASA's Kennedy Space Station, and von Braun. They're naming craters after them. They absolutely revere them.
Yeah, people are under the assumption that we got the good ones, the guys who didn't do harm. And that is not true.
Here's some controversy and investigations. Before his official approval of the program, President Truman for 16 months was indecisive on the program. Years later in 1963, Truman recalled that he was not in the least reluctant to approve paperclip. That's because of relationships with the Soviet Union. This had to be done and was done. Several of the paperclip scientists were later investigated because of their links with the Nazi Party during the war. Only one paperclip scientist, George Rickey, was formally tied to any crime, and no paperclip scientist was found guilty of any crime in America or Germany. Rickey was returned to Germany in 1947 to stand at the Dora trial, where he was acquitted. Now, that was a war crime trial conducted by the United States Army in the aftermath of the collapse of the Third Reich. So he was acquitted there. In 1951, weeks after his U.S. arrival, Walter Schreiber was linked by the Boston Globe to human experiments conducted by Kurt Ballum at Ravensbrück, and he emigrated to Argentina with the aid of the U.S. military.
Yes. Yeah, so he left. He went to Argentina, and he's one of the ones. He's one of the Germans who were in Argentina, but he was brutal.
Was he the Moreau?
I think it was him, and I feel like it was another guy. I think you mentioned him before.
There were a couple of names in there. I mean, we can't go down this list. Here's the key
No.
recruits. Look at this. So they brought them into aeronautics and rocketry, which that's the biggest list. Should explain why NASA lies so much. Architecture. They were brought into electronics, including guidance systems, radar, and satellites. They were brought into material science, high temperature. They were brought into medicine, including biological weapons. Didn't we make an agreement we weren't going to work on biological weapons or release any?
I think that was in the 70s or 80s.
So biological
But then,
weapons.
but then you just got to change it to a different product, like Roundup instead of Agent Orange, so that you can actually sell it, so people buy it. And
it is Agent Orange, isn't it?
It's
literally
glyphosate.
And space medicine. Physics, chemistry, and chemical engineering. I mean,
My question is, like, did we not have any scientists here in this country?
apparently not. That's what I'm trying to say. We could have kept them, and we have ways of extracting information from people. We could have had our top scientists get it out of them, or get a military person to get it out of them, and then give it to our own scientists. Like, I don't feel like we needed these people. But you know what? In a sense, the Russia thing, if other countries are taking these scientists, there is, I don't know. So, and I Am Not You says H.G. Wells wrote The Island of Dr. Moreau in 1896. But wasn't there a real case of it? I'm pretty sure.
You think they got the idea of the island from the book?
No, because if you really think about it, where else would you do that type of stuff, right? Like if you did it on an island and you're experimenting on people, there literally is no escape for the people that are on it. Literally no escape. You're surrounded by an ocean. People either have to come in, and if you have military guarding from far out enough in the water, no one will ever know you're there.
Or sharks, alligators, whatever.
Epstein, any of them. You would never know that they were there. So, I think that would be the perfect place to do it. That would be absolutely the perfect place. So let's see. Walter Paul Emil Schreiber was a medical officer with the German army in World War I and a brigadier? Yeah, brigadier general of the Wehrmacht medical service during World War II. And he would later serve as a key witness against Hermann Göring during the Nuremberg trials. Is that who you're referring to?
Wait, what's the name?
Hermann Wilhelm Göring.
Yeah, I think he was pretty bad.
I would imagine most of them were pretty bad.
Usually the ones who were doctors were the worst.
Yeah, well, they didn't
The
care what
things
they
they
were doing
did.
to anybody.
The things they did to twins, and then all the other stuff that got into MK Ultra with the CIA, all the things they did there. But
You know,
even
they-
just testing hypothermia, testing how long it would take for somebody to freeze to death,
Literally just gonna
testing pain response.
testing to see how high someone has to fall to die.
Even
Yeah. Go on.
sick things, disgusting things like taking a nail and hammer it into a guy's testicle to see how much he could withstand the pain.
But unfortunately, they say that because they were also like opening up people and discovering organs and all this other stuff, and they were saying, well, it's actually a huge plus to modern medicine because they did all this research. Yeah, but they did it in the wrong fucking way.
So here,
Yep.
and it says Schreiber consequently did not seek to renew his contract with the U.S. Air Force. Instead, he left Texas for the Bay Area of California, where one of his daughters lived. And from there, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency arranged visas for him and his family to move to Argentina, where another one of his daughters was living and had recently given birth to Schreiber's first grandchild. On May 22nd, 1952, they were flown on a military aircraft to New Orleans and from there to Buenos Aires. In Argentina, he worked as a practitioner of general medicine, essentially as a country doctor in the community of San Carlos de Beloish, where he settled. He died suddenly of a heart attack on September 5th, 1970, in Argentina. where one of his daughters was already there. So all of their families already fled Germany. See, that's another example of
Families came with them when they.
No. One of his daughters already lived in Argentina.
Oh, she did.
Yes. He said he arranged visas, or the Joint Intelligence Objective Agencies, which I don't know why they would need a Joint Intelligence Agency to do this, unless people were looking for him. Arranged visas for him and his family to move to Argentina, where another one of his daughters was living and had recently given birth to his first grandchild. So one of them was already there. There's a reason Argentina was like a big spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't think Hitler was dead at that time. I think he got away too. I think the whole thing was staged. I do not think he killed himself or that his life was taken.
No, someone that vain does not kill themselves.
No.
I think he was also in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
So I Am Not You also says it's likely somebody took inspiration from the novel H.G. Wells wrote about submarines and rockets to the moon far before their inventions.
It's so funny that we talked about another city somewhere that this all ties to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're trying to hint towards, but if you're trying to hint towards the Middle Earth, we're getting there.
Inner Earth, yeah.
We're not there yet.
Oh, I know.
We're going to take a little bit here. So, and even here, I brought up a USA Today. So if anybody is in disbelief that this is actually reality, not only did Wikipedia say it, but USA Today even did a fact check. Nazi scientists were brought to work for the U.S. through Operation Paperclip. And they go through the claim, and we're going to go all the way to the bottom.
Well, I don't know how you would deny it. It's part of the Freedom of Information Act.
And
you can get it from the government.
Yeah. And it says, we rate this claim true because it is supported by our research. So, I mean, it's everywhere. It's general.
I mean, what research did you just call the government and say, hey, I need copies of these proof of Project Paperclip? I mean, good journalism.
And now here's a quick thing here. On Time Magazine, they were even discussing with History in Space how historians are reckoning with the former Nazi who launched America's space program. So there, it is verifying he launched NASA. He was the NASA guy.
Oh, yeah. He was the head.
Mm-hmm. With model rockets. So it says,
him and Walt Disney got along quite well.
What was that?
Him and Walt Disney got along quite well.
Yes, he did. It's good that you're aware of that. Sporting a gray double-breasted suit, slicked back curls, and a slide rule, rocket engineer Werner von Braun cuts a suave, authoritative figure in Disney's 1955 television special, Man and the Moon. Disney covered him. Speaking with a German accent, the then director of development at the U.S. Army Ballistic Missile Agency in Huntsville, Alabama, uses a series of models and illustrations to explain how America will reach the moon with the aid of an enormous nuclear-powered space station. The United States eventually planted a flag on the lunar surface, though without the help of any orbital reactors. And all through the space race, von Braun, a German scientist scooped up by the U.S. in the waning days of World War II, was the public face of the American space program, as well as one of its chief architects. But much of the cold area coverage of von Braun downplayed the darker details of his past. Before he was building rockets for America, he was building them for Hitler. Germany launched more than 3,000 missiles of his design against Britain and other countries, indiscriminately killing approximately 5,000 people, while as many as 20,000 concentration camp prisoners died assembling the weapons. He's a good dude. So, in this article, I could post it if anyone's interested in taking a look at it. I mean, this is a hard thing to look past.
I don't know if either of you have had this situation where you're talking to somebody who's got a very hard left stance on topics to do with the eugenics program and all the medical testing that they did, the experiments. But I've had situations talking to some of them where they're like, oh yeah, but they learned so much and it helped a lot of people today. And if it weren't for them doing that, they wouldn't have learned. Like they're trying to justify it. Have you ever had that situation?
Well, again, there is a duality to this, and I was going to ask you guys, what would you have done in that situation if you have other countries that are trying to grab these people as fast as possible, and you know that they have tech, like we could in another episode we can get into De Glock and a few other things that supposedly he was in possession of, right? There were a few stories that he was potentially in possession of like alien technology, UFOs, and he was on the verge of cracking it. And that is why we dropped the atom bomb, like as fast as possible. Because if you look at the difference between the Manhattan Project and when we dropped it, it was almost immediate. We were like, oh, we got this. Let's drop it fast now. Like, it was a pretty abrupt decision to do that. So now the war's done. They came up with whatever deal with Hitler that they came up with, right? It's pretty much commonly accepted at this point, even though they haven't changed the curriculum in schools. It's commonly accepted that Hitler lived. Because now they did forensics on the bones of the burial site where supposedly the Soviets buried Hitler. It was very, very similar to what they did with Osama bin Laden and with the other guy. Very similar.
But they got a blood sample, Lou.
Yeah. They're like, we got him. and now there were two skeletons, which was supposedly Hitler and his wife. They've confirmed that the other one wasn't even a female. And the bones that was supposed to be Hitler did not match any DNA records. So it's pretty much done. And they're still teaching in school. Like, I have a child in high school and she's still taught that he drank the cyanide and shot her or whatever they claimed, or he hung himself after the cyanide. Yeah. That is not what happened.
I've even heard that he wasn't even into women.
Look, it could have been a trillion different things. But I don't know how that would have anything to do with that.
True.
But the story goes it was supposed to be him and his wife, and neither of them came up.
I guess I was thinking of Michael.
Oh, Big Mike. Well, well, he's obviously into women if he dresses like one. But, so that story didn't happen. And then CIA papers came out that even said that they were speculating. A certain agency that was looking for him speculated Argentina.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of these Germans went to Argentina. So it's known. So let's see here. They were even talking about like the size of the estates in Argentina. They were gigantic because they brought all of these things. But anyways, the hypothetical question. So you're in that situation. You're the country that just dropped the bomb. You know that there are other countries that are right around there that know that they can either enslave or treat these people like kings because they might have technology that nobody else has. Because if you want to go over the list of things that we pulled out of World War II, it's unbelievable. Even as far as the music industry is concerned, they were doing tape recorders.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't Les Paul who did that. Les Paul created, I guess, the 4-track, but the magnetic tape was created by the Nazis. What do you do in that instance, Shane?
I know they were trying to get the technology, but I still don't think I would have given them as much freedom as they did. If I tried to get a hold of them, I probably would have done what I could to get all the information from them. And I probably would have given them a false sense of security to say that this is the way it's going to be. And then all of a sudden, lock them away after I've gotten what I wanted from them.
What would you do, Chris?
I would definitely torture them, get as much information as I could, and then kill them. I mean,
now how do you know they're giving you what they know?
I would be pretty ruthless.
How do you know you're going to get it out of them? And Alan, what's going on? Thank you for joining us.
First, you have to test to make sure you got the right information. Once you're guaranteed, all right, that A plus B equals C. All right, throw them in the wood chipper.
I mean, I don't want to sound like I would do the same thing as them, but I think that the circumstances would vary. It depends. Because if they have an aptitude that nobody else in your division has, and other countries already have these guys and they're actually letting them live, who knows when the Soviets come back with 100 times better technology, and now we're right back in the fold.
Their B-2 rocket never actually took off. Failed, and they got the shitty scientists.
I mean, at this point in the game, maybe it would seem that way. But I mean, look, even what's going on right now, like I hear a lot of people talking about all this BS of like they can't even take over Ukraine. But how are you to know that this isn't on purpose?
Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the things that's really shocking to me about this whole Russian invasion. They're supposed to have a very advanced army, like very advanced.
Mm-hmm.
They're having trouble with Ukraine. This whole thing, something seems completely wrong.
It feels like theater.
A lot of it feels like
Yes.
theater.
A lot of it doesn't make any sense.
No.
A lot of it feels like theater. And you even have to think from a military perspective, right? That if you're going to invade a country and you know that may actually incite a world war, and in this case, it wouldn't exactly be a world war because it looks like 70% outside of China is against it, right? So this isn't even just like a world war. It looks like it would be literally two countries joining.
Although we got to
That's if
remember
China
that
joined
that
up.
really kind, sweet man, George Soros, is supporting Ukraine. So if he says that they're good, we've got to believe him. Sarcasm totally intended.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are running around Ukraine with the Nazi symbol on their arm, which obviously George Soros is very, very familiar with and friendly with. That's how he got out of there. Real quick, I have not used says some of them ended up at Disney under the costumes. And then he says, jokes aside, it was a necessary evil, even under the best of circumstances, to ensure your country is ahead of the rest in technology, which that's like the you know, what I'm trying to say.
They probably pushed this country forward by like 10 to 15 years.
But the problem is, by giving them positions of influence, you're letting the same exact type of mental structure fester. And now when they're at the heads,
Or do we hand them the keys?
Such connections. Like that other guy, why'd they willingly just let him go to Argentina? They helped him.
They helped him, right?
So there has to be a certain level of what's the term?
Like who infiltrated who?
Correct.
Right.
You know, or was there a deal made? If we got all the better scientists, was there a deal made? Oh, but the point that I was going to make on Russia very quickly was that if you're them and you're taking these steps and you're preempting that there is the possibility, you're not going to send all your soldiers and you're not going to show all your cards. That's suicide. That's absolute suicide. So you wouldn't do it. So if he has these things that can penetrate the U.S. defenses, obviously he's not going to use them yet, even though it's public knowledge that the U.S. is helping in absurd degrees in Ukraine. Like there was some reports that there are actual like American generals there that are leading the Ukrainians. So we have a lot to do with that. It's almost like we're fighting it. If we're fighting, all the stories and the conflicting information is ridiculous. But
in every scenario, I think the one part that we have to look at is the money trail and the power trail, which really go hand in hand.
Well, in this case, it's not even money trail. It's information. It's knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I mean. Knowledge is power.
Everything that the U.S. is gonna use as surveillance is coming. It came from them.
Mm-hmm.
So the government's locking down on us right now. We know it. Everybody
and
knows.
Who should we classify as them?
Well, a lot of the people that think they're with them don't realize that they're in the same cage as us. So it depends on who that classifies as, because a lot of people that are defending it right now are going to find themselves in the same exact hole. They think they're excluded because of ideology. They're like, oh, I think that's a good idea. Well, they're not going to give you a fucking free pass, asshole. Nope. So whatever, it is what it is. But I Am Not You says, as I told Lou several weeks ago, the entire Ukraine situation is designed with China as the ultimate goal. Just today, the news was discussing that China is backing Russia. The goal is to eliminate the last major power that is not NWO. This links to the videos you posted earlier about the robot dogs. The media is slowly turning people anti-China to bolster support. Russia is NWO and has been. The invasion is an act. So that's another thing. When you look at Carl Schwab and that whole group, Putin's part of it. So, or Klaus Schwab, however you pronounce his name, from what the hell is that organization? Forgetting the name of it. But Klaus Schwab, who's basically, he's the architect of the Great Reset. It's becoming known that that's the guy that's in charge of it. And he's got Trudeau under him. I mean, he's got he's got Pete Buttigieg. He's got world leaders all over the place under him. And IMF. Thank you, I Am Not You. And he's the one who's telling everybody where this is going. Klaus Schwab. I wonder what kind of name that is. Sounds kind of German. Whatever. I digress. But here's another little article, all from Wikipedia. This is all coming from information they're allowing you to hear, or they want you to know. They want you to know this. And guess what? You're gonna do fucking nothing about it. German Argentinians are Argentine citizens of German ancestry. They are descendants of Germans who immigrated to Argentina from Germany and elsewhere in Europe. Some German Argentinians originally settled in Brazil, then later immigrated to Argentina. Germany as a political entity was founded only in 1871, but immigrants from earlier dates are also considered German Argentinians due to their shared ethnic heritage, language, and culture. German Argentines, that's how you say it, today make up the fourth largest ethnic group in Argentina, with over 2 million Volga Germans alone. So a lot of them went there. I don't think a lot of ordinary citizens would have been able to afford, in a broken down city that just got demolished, would afford to just get on planes and get out of there. I mean, these were arrangements from other governments. They were submarines. These were legitimate Nazi party people with families and stuff. German Argentines have founded German schools such as the Holterschule and German language newspapers such as Argentinisches Tageblatt, which is Argentine Daily. The 5 provinces with the largest numbers of inhabitants of German descent are, in order of largest German population, Cordoba, which is where all the guitars come from.
Oh, yeah.
Entre Rios, Buenos Aires, Misiones, and La Pampa. Oh, that looks really nice. Look at that. In the Mesopotamia region. That is really nice, those waterfalls. But Buenos Aires is known as, what is that, the richest part of Argentina? Buenos Aires? Cordoba's known. I mean, there's a lot of them over there. Again, who could have gotten over there? You know what I mean? And this is stating right here, total population more than 3.5 million. They're all German. So they got out. They got out. They escaped.
Escape from LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess they were already going there because it says right here, between 1885 and World War I, the population of Argentina doubled due to an influx of 3 million European immigrants, 100,000 of whom spoke German. But that's only 100,000 that spoke German. And this article is about the Germans that are down there. So many of those who immigrated directly from Germany were assimilated into the upper middle class of Buenos Aires, but maintained strong ties to German culture, providing their children with a German education so that they would not be at a disadvantage if they returned to Germany. So they went there and they created literally their own colony. So they've been in South America. They've been on basically the same continent. I mean, that's South America. So they made it there. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't some type of BS. Now I'm just scrolling through the article right here, seeing if there's anything else really to go over.
You know, I guess maybe they figured Argentina would have been the last place anybody looked for them. You know,
I never hear about anything Argentinian or Argentina. I never hear about it. The last thing I heard was that they discovered an entire civilization with LiDAR under the size of New York City under the trees.
Oh, but that's ancient, right? That's not from 100
Oh,
years
it's
ago.
very ancient. Let's see, ancient city, or is that Guatemala? Argentina LiDAR. Let me see if I find
Back
something.
in Guatemala, we used to pick coffee beans.
Yeah, I think it was Guatemala that they found that, and it was literally literally the size of New York City. I mean, tremendous area. They're finding a lot more stuff in South America.
Well, I mean, that just goes and proves the theory that like civilization has been around and was much more advanced for a lot longer than we think it was.
Yes.
So here are some.
And it might have been an ice age, which, you know, hindered or brought us back to like you know, primitive people.
Like some of this is absolutely amazing. Like, look at that. That's a LiDAR scan. I don't know if that's going under the trees or under the water, but look at the size of some of that stuff. If you consider how high that must have been, look at how much land that's covering. Those are some big structures. I mean, that's a city. There's a pyramid. Here's another one. Here's another one.
It's a few pyramids.
I mean, look at all the structures. The roadway. There's a roadway. I mean, and they're all over South America. The ones we know of are probably like 1/80th of the amount that are out there. Here's another Mayan structure. I mean, the amount that's down there under those trees is incredible. They talk about the Middle East, but I mean, look at this, peeking through the trees. Look, you could see it. Whoop, I clicked on it. You can see, like if you had a fucking drone or something, all you got to do is look down. I mean, it's peeking right through, right? And those are large.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
So figure before all this technology, you know, the only way you were going to see it was a helicopter. That's how they I think it was in World War I, they discovered the White Pyramids of China. Have you ever heard of those, Chris?
Yes.
So that's how they discovered that. The White Pyramids. So, and that leads to some other stuff that you discover aerially, because there were other things that happened during World War II. And it had to do with some pilots. So another thing that people didn't realize was that Germany had a base that was in Antarctica. So they weren't just doing Argentina here. They were also in Antarctica.
Right, because if you can conquer Antarctica, then you could get to any place. Well, this is if you believe that the Earth is a sphere. But if the Earth is a sphere and you conquer Antarctica, you could get to anywhere on the planet easier.
True.
Well, wouldn't that say the same for the North Pole?
The North Pole is not land.
How do you know?
The same way you find shit underneath the trees with LiDAR, you could do the same thing with ice.
Have you done it?
It's not land. It's an ocean.
But have you done it?
Have you done that with South America?
I'm
You just
not.
pull-
I'm not claiming to know. I'm just saying, look at this shit. That's all I'm doing.
2 points I want to make. One, the pyramids. Going back to those real quick. Have you both heard of the expeditions where they found pools of mercury in the base of the pyramids, digging under them,
Yes.
as if they used them for rituals or possibly for a composition or chemical for fuel or flying machine?
There's also water that flows under the pyramids to this day in Egypt, even
And
though
with
it's
the,
a desert.
With the water on some of the pyramids, even in South America, they said that when people would go into that water, there was something very energizing about it, that anybody in it just felt really happy and like nothing was wrong in life, and it was like very healing properties.
Fuck,
Kind of interesting.
I need some of that shit. I need about 200 gallons.
And then going into the Antarctica part again, the Perry Reese maps showing the waterways before the last ice age.
Oh, well, they were definitely, I mean, there were Egyptian ships that were found off the coast of Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Those motherfuckers were on ships and traveling. Now, that's also given that you don't believe that they were more spread out than just Egypt, right? Because they just discovered the second Sphinx, which actually predates the first one that we discovered. And it's actually in Pakistan. Have you guys seen that one?
No.
This thing was around it was over a highway in Pakistan for the past like 100 years. For some reason, nobody asked any questions about it. Pretty amazing.
Well, it's funny because I've read a lot of things that say that the Sphinx actually predates like what we think of Egypt and the Egyptians.
Yes.
That Egyptians found the Sphinx.
Now, here they admit it. Well, this is probably because it's based off of the Pakistan government, and it's not stuck by the Egyptologists. That fucking asshole. I don't even want to talk about him. But Awi Zawai, whatever the fuck his stupid name is, that guy has blocked so much shit. So now that this is found in another country, there's a chance that they're antiquities. So right here we got the Pakistan Sphinx.
Can you blow that up?
What? What do you think? I'm a terrorist?
I don't know what that beard you might be. Can you make the picture bigger?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna light up your life, big boy.
Oh, sweetie pie.
So yeah, that is the Balashtan Sphinx, also known as the Lion of Balashtan or Abul Hul. It says natural rock structure. They've pretty much fucking. I saw like 3 specials on this. I mean, look at that. And underneath it is columns.
Naturally?
See, you're even shocked. Let me click on the picture. I'll try and blow this picture up.
Uh-oh. This is terrorist.
Look at that. Now notice, they're saying it's natural. Look at underneath it. It's on top of like a temple. Like it's almost obvious. Like, I don't know how much more you need. And people
it really looks like a really weathered temple.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
And this was an eye shot of right over a highway for years. For years.
People have had to have like gone in there.
And now
like,
notice
shit.
some of these pictures, the shade, it kind of like throws off the dimensions. If you come down and you see other pictures of it, look at how deep the columns are.
Oh yeah. There's definitely something there.
I mean, that is...
Of course, they would want you to just think it's a natural eroded formation because they don't want you to look into it, probably because they're looking into it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're looting it.
Just like they don't want you to know what's underneath the Sphinx in Egypt.
Oh, well, they've known that forever. That's already empty.
In Bolivia.
I mean, here's some stuff. The facade sculptures of the Sphinx temple. Look at that. Now, I guess this meme is trying to say, how do you conclude that it's Camarilla and Ganesha? I don't know. But the funny thing is, so they dated it to 12,500 years old, which was the theoretical dating of the Egyptian one that people were fighting about, because the antiquities say what, 3,000 years, and the first one people were bringing up was 12,500. The American that broke the piece off the Sphinx and brought it back to America and was extradited back to face court in Egypt, he had carbon dated it here, and he came up with 12,500. Other scientists looked around the area and they found water damage on this stuff. And they said that the last time water ran through at those heights that could have done that type of natural formation on it or damage was 12,500 years ago.
Which is right in line with the catastrophe cycle that we're supposed to talk about soon.
Yes. You tell me when we're going to talk about it soon, and then we're going to talk about it.
We just needed a little more prep time.
But yeah, so all this stuff, and now the Pakistani officials, from what I saw, anyone could do some research on it if they want. They said 12,500 years. So,
and they could still be older than that. Like, we don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Rhett sent me something earlier, which I've seen this picture before, and I sent it to you on the messenger. And he was just saying, what if that 75 million year old whale rock formation in Africa was actually something like cities or possibly something else?
Is that island that looks like a gigantic elephant laying in the water?
This one's different. It looks like almost looks like 3 submarines or something. It's very peculiar.
I saw one the other day that looked exactly like an elephant laying in the water. The whole island looked exactly like an elephant.
Weird. I'd like to see
that.
that.
Like it could have shown somebody from let me see. I mean, this thing, it looked like an elephant in the water. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Maybe I downloaded the photo on my phone. So I get so much stuff sent to me all day long. And I'm also in a bunch of groups on Telegram. And so I think you guys joined me in some of the groups online as well. Mm-hmm. So I see this stuff all the time. So sometimes I forget whether I actually downloaded it or not. I mean, but I did stop. I'm surprised I didn't. Because when I saw this, it stopped me for a moment. And I was looking at it and I was like, wow. That is blatantly an elephant. Like it was amazing. So yeah, I don't have it on me right now. Yeah, let me take a look at that picture. We could put it up for a moment.
When I first saw the picture he sent, which is probably a few months back, he reminded me of it today. It's just very interesting.
Yeah, that is a strange formation. Mm-hmm. Formation in quotations. That is a little strange.
Well, that's like that formation that's, what is it, off the coast of Japan? It's underwater. It's got a little straight lines. It looks like a temple.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That's an underwater city.
Yes.
That's a gigantic pyramid there, too.
Yes, it's huge.
Mm-hmm. There's even one in Lake Erie.
There's also one in the Indian Ocean. There's also one in the Dead Sea. Where else did they find them? There's a whole bunch that are all over the place. So, all right, before we move too far out on this discussion. So, anyways, they had in Antarctica, they had a bunch of bases. So here we get into Operation Deep Freeze. So Operation Deep Freeze is a code name for a series of United States missions to Antarctica, beginning with Operation Deep Freeze in 1955 to 1956, followed by Operation Deep Freeze 2 and Operation Deep Freeze 3, and so on. There was an initial operation between Admiral Richard Byrd, proposed deep freeze. We're going to get into him in a moment. Given the continuing and constant U.S. presence in Antarctica since that date, Operation Deep Freeze has come to be used as a general term for U.S. operations in that continent, and in particular for the regular missions to resupply U.S. Antarctic bases coordinated by the United States Military Task Force 199 were involved. I think I pulled up the wrong expedition. So, regarding the Germans and Antarctica, we have high jump. And this does predate it. Sorry, everybody, for that error. So this was 1955 to 1956. This was from 1946 to 1947. So Operation High Jump, officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Development Program, also called Task Force 68, was a United States Navy operation to establish the Antarctic research base Little America. The operation was organized by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, officer in charge, Task Force 68, and led by Rear Admiral Ethan Eric Larson, USN command. Oh, man. And it commenced on August 26, 1946, and ended in late February 1947. Task Force 68 included 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircrafts. So now this is what we're seeing. This is the Operation High Jump that's being discussed on Wikipedia, which is saying that's when they're going down. So the first thing that I want to point out, this is a little of a conflict of information here. This is saying that they started this in 46 and 47. It was organized by Admiral Byrd. But if you look over here, this says this was a code name to a series of them that was starting with Deep Freeze, and it happened in 1955 to 56. So they actually went there 10 years prior, even by their dates. Right? Like, why wouldn't this say High Jump?
Like, I'm not exactly sure if maybe High Jump was supposed to, like, you're supposed to make a base and on Antarctica, and then Deep Freeze was to actually explore the rest of it. Because Antarctica is huge. Yeah.
All right. So this says prior to International Geophysical Year, the U.S. Navy already had a record of earlier exploration in Antarctica. As early as 1839, Captain Charles Wilkes led the first U.S. naval expedition into Antarctic waters. In 1929, Admiral Richard E. Byrd established a naval base as Little America 1, led an expedition to explore further inland, and conducted the first flight over the South Pole. From 1934 to 1935, the second Byrd expedition explored much further inland and was also wintered over. The third Byrd expedition in 1940 charted the Ross Sea. So, very quickly, as we start talking about Antarctica, I have a little video here that we can watch. And let me rewind this for everybody. I had to find this video in one of my shady groups. So let's listen to some of this.
It's time for the Longines Chronoscope, a television journal of the important issues of the hour, brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. A presentation of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company, maker of Longines, the world's most honored watch, and Whitnor, distinguished companion to the world-honored Longines. Good evening, this is Frank Knight. May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
The North Pole used to be a no-man's land, but these are the days when, by buying a ticket on a commercial airline...
Did he just say the North Pole? What was that, Chris?
Yes, he did say the North Pole.
All right, let's continue with this conflicting information. But at least this is real.
You can fly across the North Pole and drink a cocktail at the same time. You know, only 60 or more years ago, about 35 years ago, our guest tonight found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. he made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral,
Yeah.
would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
So I just want to point out very quickly. Yeah, Chris, get that mute button. I just want to point out very quickly that he did say it's livable and usable. Did you notice some of the terms he used for an area past Antarctica?
Well, he also said the same thing about the North Pole, is that it's getting...
I thought it was just nothing but water.
The North Pole?
Yeah.
Well, it's a shelf on top of water.
That's what they tell us. Let's continue.
Yep.
It's true.
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they are safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Atka, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand, I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia. But why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have military importance?
It has some, and as the world shrinks, it will continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration, thus bringing these places closer. And in the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Well, has the development of air power increased the strategic importance of places like the
very much
Parma
so.
Peninsula, was it?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica.
I've
Then
heard,
between there and Cape Horn.
I've heard it said that there are 7 continents in the world, and one of them has never been seen by a woman, and that's Antarctica. Is that actually true?
Well, if the powerful nation is an island, as far as I know, that's true. No woman's ever stepped foot upon the Antarctic continent, and it's the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, I'm sure that won't last very long. Italy, I understand that now that you're working with the Arnold Bread Company in charge of frozen foods. Now, is there any future for frozen foods down these frozen extremities?
Well, I think the human race can be helped by that. This was thought out by Dean Arnold, who's, in my opinion, a great humanitarian. He learned that we went down there after 4 or 5 years and finished a meal that we had left there on the table when we had evacuated Little America. Everything was perfect, including the bread. So he got the idea of this frozen bread, and already he sent some to Europe, and it worked very well over there for some of the starving people. So you can store it down in the Antarctic, and against the lean years, and you wouldn't have any people in the world really starving if you did that.
Yes, in the event of an atomic war...
You'd stay there forever.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica. What are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
it was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
is it any secret? Is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there. Well, you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic.
And Robert, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there, the New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and the Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
The Argentinians.
Admiral, you make it sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Well, Admiral Byrd, are private expeditions a thing of the past? Is expedition and exploration, making expedition and exploration now purely a government function because of the tremendous cost and organization?
No, I don't think so. I think down south it may be more or less a thing of the past, but not other expeditions that go there. A lot of them go north now.
This latest expedition now on the way is a government expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government.
May I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200 miles thick. Now, the south is a plateau. It gets, in some places, 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000, and it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world. The North really isn't very cold up there on the Arctic Ocean.
Not compared to the South. Admiral Byrd, we often hear it said that our young Americans now aren't as hardy as their forefathers. Do you think that Americans do measure up to the standards, the physical standards and morale standards of the past?
I do. I don't believe that. I think they're just as hardy.
Well, what would you say was the most valuable factor on an expedition? Is it morale, or physical courage, or is it sheer equipment?
Well, I've always thought that loyalty was by far the most important trait. The British told me that when I first went down in 28, that I couldn't possibly get through the winter night without a mutiny if I took more than 20 men. But to serve science, I had to take 42 men. And then I took 56 the next time, and so on. And I did find that loyalty was the most important thing during the winter night when it's very hard on your nerves. I think that's best trait.
Well, that's a very valuable characteristic at any time. Well, thank you very much, Admiral Byrd. It's been a great pleasure to have you here tonight.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Yeah.
So what do you guys gather from that?
Some of it seems slightly cryptic.
Yeah, I feel like you're not saying a lot of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, when was the last time a military guy ever said anything direct?
I was very open about everything. Not often. I mean, and what year was that? That was in the 40s.
47?
Mm-hmm.
And then supposedly he went back again. So
Now, they did do some video of his expeditions showing different segments, even showing chopping away at the ice. I think even the penguins and different characters. It was almost like Disney produced it, if you will, by the way it was laid out.
Yes, they did.
The music and whatnot. Did they really?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a guess because of the way it was formatted.
So I'm going to come back really quickly just to verify your point. I think it was in the high jump. Nope. It was in the deep freeze article. So Operation Deep Freeze. And if you come down here, where is it? It was just over the page. It was right there. Come on, keep going. I'll find it.
Yeah, the way it was laid out, it seemed like Disney produced it, and it was very educational based for kids to get a kick out of it, I think, and to just try to draw a different perspective from people to make them think it's just this voyage into this unknown land of all this ice. But then they throw theatrics into it, like there were points where it got really, really cold and frigid, and there's like probably, I want to say at least a half dozen, maybe even a dozen videos, probably 30 to 50 minutes long each.
So here you go. In 1955, Task Force 43, commanded by Rear Admiral George J. Dufek, was formed to provide logistical support for the expedition. Operation Deep Freeze 1 prepared a permanent research station and paved the way for more exhaustive research in later deep freeze operations. The expedition transpired over the Antarctic summer of November 1955 to April 1956. It was filmed by the U.S. Navy and Walt Disney Studios. And it says, for having designed the emblem of Task Force 43, Walt Disney became an honorary member of the expedition. There you go. It was Walt Disney. He had a lot of involvement in a lot of things. And if you notice, a lot of Disney cartoons were very propaganda-ish against the Nazis and stuff around World War II. Chris?
Sorry, I was my feed on. There we go. It went down. That was totally propaganda-ish. They had a lot to do with that. I mean, but it wasn't just Walt Disney doing that. The Warner Brothers had a ton of propaganda. I mean, that was just a part of the culture.
Well, they were also getting to young people so that they can get people to go behind it, and maybe when they grew up, join the military. They were pushing a public push for people, to get the military up. But wouldn't you consider that propaganda?
Absolutely.
Do you think you're seeing the same thing now?
Do you remember the thing I sent you the other day?
I forget which one. We send things in that group every day.
There was that bus stop photo of the little kid, "Be my hero," or "Don't you want to be a hero?" I know that triggered the shit out of you.
Nah, not really. It annoyed me a little bit.
A little bit. I even said to Christina, I said, "Watch." Sure enough.
So now, so here I brought this up just for this one reason. It's the Smithsonian Magazine. It says Operation High Jump. A year after World War II ended, the U.S. Navy mounted a massive, though hastily planned mission to the bottom of the world. And so it came up immediately, right? It's pretty well known that Germany had a spot down there before anybody else did. And they went running down there as fast as possible, pretty much. I don't know who they're interviewing here, but it says, what was the significance of Operation High Jump? And no U.S. naval expedition has been in Antarctica for 100 years before that, not since the Wilkes expedition of 1838 to 42. High Jump was a significant illustration of the state of the world in the Cold War thinking at the time. The nuclear age had just begun, and the real fears were that the Soviet Union would attack the United States over the North Pole. The Navy had done a training exercise there in the summer of 1946 and felt it needed to do more. The northern winter was coming, and High Jump was a quickly planned exercise to move the whole thing to the South Pole. Politically, the orders were that the Navy should do all it could to establish a basis for a land claim in Antarctica. That was classified at the time. Now, Antarctica ends up falling under a treaty that no country will claim it or use it, right?
Right.
At least to our knowledge.
Supposed to be protected land.
Now, to a bunch of... Here's a little something that the story was supposed to be, right? And I've been reading this for about 20 years. Before they even told anybody that High Jump actually happened, right? Before they Freedom of Information Act, and now we know that there were, things going down there. The Battle of Antarctica. This I've read about for years, but for some reason it's harder and harder to find by the day. And by the way, I want to mention to you guys, so I switched over to the Brave browser, and you can find anything on Brave. DuckDuckGo is now battling misinformation.
Yep.
Yes, I've noticed that. I might have to get off.
So DuckDuckGo is a no-go, and Firefox has been kind of shitty for a while. I've actually found better suggestions on Bing in some cases than I have on the other two, which is shocking.
Well, that's weird because DuckDuckGo uses Bing as their search engine.
Yeah, I don't know. Bing's brought up decent results, but I finally I went the Brave route. I just downloaded it the other day. And it's a pretty good browser. I could find pretty much anything. When we do this show, I'm using Safari for purposes of being able to bring up tab groups and stuff, which I'm surprised. If anybody knows anybody who works at Apple, please ask them why they can't fix this fucking bug with the tab groups. But because it's got a pretty annoying bug. But I like the way they were able to. I have tabs set up for every single episode and every single tab I need for every episode. Like it's pretty convenient. The other browsers don't have that option yet. But we're going to start using Brave very, very soon.
I'm
Brave
downloading it right now.
It doesn't seem to censor anything. And it's got built-in, the malware fighting, and it'll stop ad blocks. Like, it's pretty good. I can't complain. I've been using it on my PC, which one would think is the most suicidal maneuver you can do, but it's not bad. But right here, it says, a decisive moment in the war. Let's investigate the 100% historically accurate gravity-defying flying saucers of Antarctica. Now, I don't know if it's... This is on medium.com. It was published March 31st of 2020. And it says, we are talking about the well-known Battle of Antarctica, also known as Operation High Jump, during which in 1946, USA task forces went to Antarctica to destroy the remaining bases of the Fourth Reich and capture a new unique armament, flying saucers. Now, there were a lot of theories. This next episode, we're gonna go over what a few of them are, because we're going to go over the Glock. We're going to go over a lot of maybe potential blueprints that they had of other technologies they had going on. And remember that this was around the time the flying saucers really started popping up. As far as reports of them, sightings of them popping up over nuclear plants. The dropping of the bomb was the beginning of a mass reporting of UFOs. All over the place. If you look at the time of if you look at all the reports over the years. So it says, however, on March 3rd, 1947, the squadron was attacked by the enemy and forced to flee. The expedition failed, but 71 years later, players have a chance for a rematch. In the mode, a team of 12 ships will... Oh, okay. So this is a video game. Holy crap. This is literally the video game World of Warships.
So
I'm
while you're
gonna have
talking
to
about
find another
while you're
source.
talking about travel, like space travel, possibly, I don't know if you know that. I don't know if we discussed this, but NASA has a new lunar mission, which just so happens to be the sister to Apollo, and the name is Artemis, who is the Greek goddess and basically goddess of the hunt, of the wilderness, animals, nature, vegetation, childbirth, moon, chastity. And basically her entourage, mostly made up of nymphs and mortals and hunters. The goddess's name, normally also referred to as Diana, as in Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. I thought it was very interesting. All the push with the comics and superheroes. Just one of their other ties, kind of like the things they do with putting masonry and all that right in front of you.
Yes, and I have something in regards to that as well. So here, let me kill that website. That was... So for anyone who's listening, that was a bad link. Let's see. We're going to look for one a little better here, because that was bullshit. So this one doesn't look all that amazing either, but this is pretty much the information that was written in a few books from back then too. Because I remember reading about this all the way back in Riding on a Pale Horse. So this is going way further back than anybody thinks. So this says 1947, January 17th, Operation High Jump. Admiral Byrd is sent with a military task force to destroy Nazi Antarctica base and are attacked by flying discs, causing heavy damage to his armada. Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal ordered that an American military task force, complete with 13 ships, including an aircraft carrier, seaplanes, helicopters, and 4,000 combat troops, be dispatched to the Antarctic under the command of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, 33rd degree Freemason, for the officially stated purpose of mapping the coastline. Before the start of his expedition, Admiral Byrd, at a press conference on December 2nd, 1946, said, "My expedition is military in nature, giving no further details." This task force was provisioned for an 8-month polar stay, and though Byrd's group did discover fresh water, thermal heated lakes, as well as vast coal deposits, no mention of a Nazi presence ever made the official record. However, after only 8 weeks and an undisclosed loss of planes and personnel, Byrd withdrew his forces. According to rumor, Byrd encountered overwhelming hostile action. He described as fighters that are able to fly from one pole to another with incredible speed. He also intimated that he had engaged a German contingent being assisted as well by an advanced civilization with formidable technologies. Full details of what occurred with Byrd's expedition remain shrouded in mystery. After extensive debriefing at the Pentagon, Byrd was ordered to keep silent about his experiences at the South Pole. A historical fact is that over 100 Nazi U-boats in Hitler's submarine fleet were unaccounted for, especially the advanced design subs after the war, as well as a large number of the Nazi high command and the Reich's top scientists that did not come over with Project Paperclip. The Allies determined that there were 250,000 Germans unaccounted for, even taking into account casualties and deaths. So here we have a couple of Navy radio man gives testimony. John P. Schwarz, a radio man stationed on the USS Brownson, gave testimony of how UFOs appeared dramatically out of the ocean depths. On January 17, 1947, at 0700 hours, Schwarz said, I and my shipmates in the pilot house port side observed for several minutes the bright lights that ascended about 45 degrees into the sky very quickly. We couldn't ID the lights because our radar was limited to 250 miles in a straight line. So, yeah, I'm going to bring up a few more links when we continue this. Pretty much covering a lot of the Nazi base that was down there. It's pretty commonly accepted that it is. Chris, you still with us?
Still here.
To my understanding, there's supposed to be 7 countries that have some sort of control on the land of Antarctica, even though the United States denies there's any control. And I've even seen some other articles that explain or express that there's 48 countries involved in Antarctica.
Right. Yeah, so basically we're gonna come right here real quick. So even if you just basically Google it, comes up Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany never developed any type of permanent settlement in Antarctica. This is what they're claiming, and forfeited its claim to the New Swabia area in 1945 after its defeat in the Second World War. So we know that it was there. Here's cool Antarctica, Hitler's frozen base. Szabo claimed a Nazi Antarctic base called New Brescinga had been built in 1938 to 1939. This idea has been taken up by several authors over the years. Here's another
one about Hitler is that like he really was building bases everywhere, and really trying to plan and outthink his opponents. I mean, I guess as a military guy, that's what you're supposed to do. But like, he was building bases everywhere. They actually started running out of supplies. That's how much shit he was building.
Yeah.
The structures were like really grand.
Yeah, they were. Thick stone walls and archways, everything.
Yeah. And the concrete was like, some of the concrete roofs were like 15 feet deep.
So we got a quick question from Mr. Claremont. How you doing, man? It's been a lot of years on Facebook. He says, sorry, is this about UFOs? To a certain extent, yes. Not exactly. We're going over really a lot of Nazi Germany, what happened around the war, and some of the things that we didn't exactly hear from the press at that time, and some stuff that's been released through the Freedom of Information Acts. And the funny thing is, as I'll keep pointing out, a lot of these stories have been going around for a good 20, 30 years. The Freedom of Information Act only verified that there, at the very least, is a very good percentage of truth in the conspiracy theory, even though there's still a lot of redacted areas in the information they gave out. So given that a large portion of those documents is still redacted, see, the funny thing is I don't understand how they can call it freedom of information if they redact the information anyways, right? Because you're not free to get the information at that point. They're basically just telling you, yeah, something happened that day. You didn't hear bullshit. But they don't tell you what did.
Well, you know what else is funny? So there was this one report of this woman. She was one of the first people to really look into Project Paperclip. And this was like back in the 80s and 90s. And so she requested all this information from the government, and then they sent her $100,000 bill for administration fees.
How much?
So, wow. $1,000. That's a fuckload of money in the 80s and 90s.
Dude.
I mean, again, it's just a way for, to keep people at bay so they, would stop looking into stuff.
Yeah. So, and here's another one on ABC, the science show with Robin Williams. It says Weird Antarctica: the truth behind secret Nazi bases and aliens. But the funny thing is, the way they're starting to do the censorship is that you can't even find the wild stuff anymore. Like all of this stuff is getting filtered tremendously. I mean, you have to search really well. I'll be honest, I feel like an idiot that I brought up a video game fucking thing and started reading it. But they're making a video game out of it. It's almost as though they're trying to make fun of
Mock.
it. Yes. Yeah. They're trying to mock the theory. And they'll put up stuff of ABC and stuff ridiculing it, but they won't allow you to see the original information and explain why it's misinformation. You know what I mean? They don't give you, they're taking away the chance to even hear it and the exposure from it. And I Am Not You says there's a ton of bullshit and disinformation in the document releases through the Freedom of Information Act. Do you really believe the government would pass a law that would require itself to release any information, which is another good thing. But at the very least, the point that I'm trying to make is they're releasing enough documentation for you to know that it happened. So we've heard of high jump from 20 plus years ago, and they never acknowledged that anything even happened. Now, they'll tell you that it's something different from what you heard, but at the very least, now you know that what you heard did have some validity in something that happened. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, at the very least, they're acknowledging, like, hey, yeah, there was a high jump.
They did the same kind of thing with Blue Book. Or was it Blue Book? The one on all the UFO sightings. And then
Right.
Area 51.
There's always some truth to a lie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If not all truth. But yeah, with that, I mean, I think we covered a lot of ground tonight. I think we went over a lot of stuff. I also want to dig a little deeper into some of these topics. See if I could find some more stuff on the Brave browser. So the next time we cover this, if I do come back with like a ton of extra stuff, because this can go on for a while, although this isn't going to go on like that. The theme of pagan religions, but I think we should continue this. What do you guys think of the stuff we covered tonight?
Pretty good. There was one thing which I had learned about, which it doesn't really pertain to what we, but the Germans had these dueling scars. Anybody else come across the dueling scars?
No.
So a lot of the German scientists or people who are higher up, they had scars on their faces, and it was kind of like a thing. They would wear these goggles and they would fence, but they weren't I forget what it's called. It's on the tip of the fence that stops you from actually getting injured.
Just like the barb. Oh, okay. I was thinking of barbed wire.
And they wouldn't remove them. Like I go, they wouldn't put them on.
Wouldn't put them on. And so like these Germans, they all had like cuts and gashes on their face. And it was kind of like a thing. It was like academic fencing, dueling cults. And you could do like a quick image search on Google for like these dueling scars, and it's pretty fucking brutal. You know?
Well, don't they always depict when you watch movies, they depict them of having scars all over their face? Every one of them had scars. I remember from like kid films and stuff.
They do that more for like, shock and awe.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's one. It's pointing to the scar.
Yeah.
This guy's mouth is all fucked.
Yeah.
The side of this guy's cheek is fucked.
Well, look at the first.
Looks like the Joker. The first one, what? This guy?
Oh, the second one. Sorry.
This guy?
Yeah.
Oh, because he's wearing the goggles you're talking about, too.
Goggles, and there's his face. Look at his face.
And it says the Nazi...
You wonder if that's where they came up with some of the ideas for those, like the Joker.
Oh, it says the Nazi officer badge of honor.
Right. They all had them.
That's terrible.
Even that picture, you had it up before, and it was Truman. I think it was during the trials, and one of the Germans sitting there, his face is all messed up. But I mean, he's old, so it's an old scar. But
Yeah, this guy's got it. Look at that.
imagine what kind of cut that must have been.
Oh, it's got to be brutal.
Yeah.
That I would imagine that needed stitches or something. Like that
I've seen
looks like
some
his
pretty
face
horrific-
is taken off.
I mean, looking back at some of the Civil War pictures where they had their face blasted off, pretty horrific. You see the bone structure, and you even see their skeletal, where they had to create face coverings to hide, like a prosthesis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I don't know if that applies for what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
that guy's got a fucking scar across his face. A couple.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a pretty intense purpose, huh? I think it's fair to say they were in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was intimidating, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Scars on your face.
But yeah, I think we should continue this on next Monday. Go a little
Definitely.
deeper, starting from Admiral Byrd, starting from Operation High Jump, and start really digging in to some of the crazier things. Like I said,
Even
I'll use
terrestrially or extraterrestrially.
Yeah. I'll and you said you already downloaded Brave. Chris, I think you should probably do it too. And we'll all do some of these searches on Brave, and that'll also be another little cookie for the next episode, is that we'll be testing between the Brave browser, and I use Safari. I think the both of you guys do it. No, Chris, you don't use Safari.
Do not use Safari.
But what are you using now? Firefox still?
Firefox.
That's what I have been using, but
So I use Firefox, but my browser is my search engine is DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. Yeah, put them back side by side. Brave looks just like Firefox. Put them side by side and see what happens.
So what? Well, why don't we do this? I'll keep on using DuckDuckGo, and you guys use Brave. And we'll see.
Oh, we could do that.
I actually use all of them.
Hey, whatever comes up, because I did notice that
Some things are blocked on some things, and some things aren't on others.
right.
Well, I know when I use Google, my search results are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
use DuckDuckGo. I find a lot better stuff.
Google's obvious. Google's blatant.
Yeah,
With-
Google is politically leveraged.
Yes.
But they're not only politically not only that, but they also, I mean, we run a couple of websites and you have to pay for certificates to come up straight on a search. So like you would imagine, like let's say the brand of this show, Camarilla Cafe, you would imagine that if it's a search engine, that's what it's going to bring you. But other people have the ability to pay for better results with any search term.
Yep.
So there are other things. If you search us, we do come up, but not immediately, not most of the time.
You just have to use their hashtags that they like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's messed up. Although funny thing is, maybe it got used to me doing it. This time I searched it and we came right up. We came up over here under feedback. We
So,
came
right,
up.
that might be from like cookies and stuff. That
Correct.
saved the computer.
That's what I'm imagining. But all of our stuff, Audible came up. Amazon Books must come up as audiobook. I don't know. Apple Podcasts. So that could be a nice little.
So I'll use Safari. I'll look up. No, that's not gonna find it.
And I want to use this moment just to let everybody know again. You can come down to the website. This is where our social media is. It's a little deserted right now, but we're gonna start adding things as time goes on. You scroll down a little bit, it'll give you access to our Discord. We are available 24/7 on Discord. If you ask anybody, I respond very quickly to anyone who puts anything in the Discord, whether it be an article, it has a question to ask. Come in, join the group. We're all pretty civil in there. And we have a lot of different topics and boards that we discuss on. Underneath that, it'll bring you to our podcast. So you can check out our podcast on Captivate, YouTube, Twitch. Everything is on this website. We also do not run advertisements or even have any type of endorsements. Not that we're against it, but we don't have any at the moment. So if you wanted to support us, you can come right down over here, and we have a whole shop full of like hats, T-shirts, coffee mugs. One person said they wanted a tinfoil hat a while ago, and I might be working on that very soon. You can get your own Camarilla Cafe tinfoil hat.
I'm actually looking at that, especially if people are reactive to certain things with cosmic rays during geomagnetic storms. Like some people, I think people have different frequencies. I think some people have different blood types that might cause them to be affected differently by those events, with suicide, heart attack, stroke, mental instability, even migraine headaches, which is what I had over the last day from the geomagnetic storm that hit, because it was really high on the KP index. If you want to ever look that up, you can just do a search KP index. You can look at the cosmic rays and how they're hitting. We actually have another geomagnetic storm on the way because the sun just blasted out a flare today. But what's happened with the weakened magnetic field of Earth, you're actually having more inundation because we're 20 to 25% down in the fields, and it's causing greater health risks, even weakening immune function, causing people to get sick more, even hair loss. And basically, it's my belief that we could get protection. So if Lou gets that, that's definitely something you want to buy, especially during those events.
Listen, I get everything. Everything's bad I get hit with. But yeah, right now I'm showing people remref.com. If you want to tell anybody what it
is my page. My last name spelled backwards, Farmer. And basically with that, you can go on there. Again, everything that you do, because we don't get paid for this show, we just do it because we like talking to you folks. And if you go on there, you purchase something from the partner page, it actually helps support us. So anything you do there, or even Camarilla Cafe store, we greatly appreciate.
Yes, I'm showing people your partners, your CBD stuff. He's also got a shop over here.
Yep.
So,
and my music's on there too, because I am a singer-songwriter. Lou's a musician. Chris is a musician. That's why some people think we're crazy, but honestly, I think it's why we're geniuses.
Well, I wouldn't consider myself a genius, but you're allowed to if you like. You're allowed to consider it. So do you guys have anything else you want to add before we shut out for tonight?
I would just say always question and keep your eyes peeled.
Yes.
What you're meaning to say, Chris, is trust nothing, question everything, right?
And go to Disney World.
Oh.
Yes. And watch out for older women in clubs.
I don't want to get into that. Let's not get into that on the air.
No.
So everybody, thank you for joining in. Again, CamarillaCafe.com. We will be back this Friday. And next Monday, we will continue this entire World War II and Operation Paperclip, Operation Deep Freeze, High Jump. We're going to go over that again. And since it's Monday night, we all hope you have a great week. And yeah, we'll see you Friday. Thank you for showing up.
Good night, guys.
Good night.